Hi friends, this is Manish Pandey. Welcome back. Today we are going to learn about the next tutorial of queue. So let's see the agenda. How to add queue in UiPath Orchestrator. We'll learn how to add items to the queue in UiPath Orchestrator and overview of queue page in Orchestrator. So let's start. How to create a queue. So to create a queue, we require the name, the queue name and the description, and in the unique reference we can select yes or no to indicate if you want transaction references to be unique or not. It is used while adding items to the queue. If you select yes, then it is required to provide the reference while adding the items to the queue. Now auto try. So auto try, select yes or no to indicate if you want to use the auto try mechanism of queue. If you select yes and if item fails with an application exception, so Orchestrator will resend the items to robots to process up to maximum number of retries specified in the field. This is the maximum of retries should be between 1 to 50. We cannot add more than 50 retries. The queue name is not case sensitive. This is case insensitive. For example, Q1 and small case Q1 are the same. So queue name with the same name cannot be created. If you try to add queue with the same name, then Orchestrator will throw an error. You will get this type of error on the Orchestrator. When you create a queue in Orchestrator, it is empty. As soon as a queue items are processed, they become transaction. So let's create a queue. Let me open the UiPath Orchestrator. So here you have seen I have already created two queues here. First is first queue and second RPA queue. I have already added the few items to the queue, but now I'm going to tell you how to create the queue here. So you have to open the UiPath Orchestrator and then click on the queue here, the next to the assets. Now you will be getting option here queue and the review request, but you have to click on the queue. By default this page is selected. Now here we are getting the add button, so click on this add and put the name, like I'm just putting here the demo queue, and the description you can write here, this is demo queue just for learning. And here the unique references that I have already told you, if you select yes, then you have to provide the reference while adding the items to the queue, and if you will not select, then it is not required, not necessary, you can add or not. So if you select yes, so the reference should be always unique. If no, you can add the same reference to all the items in the queue. Currently we will select no, and now here auto try, as I already told you previously, here we can select yes or no. If you want to retry the items which is fails with an application exceptions up to the maximum of retries, we can put here 1 2 3 4 5. So what happens, sometime our application closed by mistake, so it will retry, it will resend the items to the robots up to the maximum time. Let me type here 51, so you will get here the value must between 1 and 50. So if you will select here yes, then we can put here 1 or 2, or if you select no, so it will not resend. Once we will get the error application exceptions, so Orchestrator will not resend the items to the robots again which is failed. So we'll select no and then create. So by this way we can create the queue, and let me show you, if we are going to create the same name, then we are getting error. So now I'm putting here demo, and in the small case demo queue, select no and create. Now we'll be getting here error, the name demo queue is already used, number 1001 error. And now we can use this queue, we can add the items to the queue. You can decrease or increase the length of this part, the description or anything for this one also. Now how to add items to the queue. So we have a activity that is called add queue item. I will show you how to add that activity and how to use that. Add queue item activity is used to add a new item in the queue. So these are the important properties. First is queue name. So we require to put the queue name, because if we need to add the items to the queue, then we require queue name. Queue name, we need to put here the queue name, the existing queue where the queue item object is to be added. Like currently we have created one queue name, that is demo queue, so we need to put that queue if we want to use that. Now priority, we are getting here the option priority. So by default the normal is selected. This property is a criteria for the prioritization of queue items. Select low, normal or high. So there are three priority: low, normal or high, depending on the importance of the item that are added by this activity and how fast you want them to process. Now postpone, here you are getting postpone. So this is the simple term. You know that if you want to postpone any items to the different time, to the different date, you can use this one. So the date after which the queue item may be processed, we can use the date time dot now dot add hours to. It means we can use this one also in the field here, or if you want to process the items after 2 hours, then we can use this one date time dot now dot add hours in the bracket 2, or the date time dot now dot add days 1 to process items after 1 day. If you want to process the items after 1 day, if you want to postpone this item for the 1 day, then you can use here. Or you can add an exact time such as 882019 and the time here. So date format should be based on US, like mm/dd/yyyhh/mm/ss. Now deadline, you can see here deadline, the date before which the queue item should be processed. It means this is the ETA, like this is the deadline. You have to complete this, before this date or this time the item should be processed. So this is the deadline. This is also the general term. We can use the date time dot now dot add hours to process the items before 2 hours, or date time dot now dot add days 1 to process items before 1 day. Or you can add an exact time such as 08082009 and the time. Date format should be based on the US. So this postpone and deadline, it takes the US format date like mmDDYY, not DDMMYY. Now the next is item information. You can see here item information, and here in the field it shows collection. It means a collection of additional information about the specific queue item that is to be added. The information is stored in the item and is used during a transaction processing. So this is the collection of items which we are going to add to the queue. Now the item information collection, it enables importing entire dictionary of information for a queue item. This field only accept dictionary, that is string object variables. So we can directly add the items from the dictionary. So for that we have to use the item information collection. Now the next is references. So as I already told you, while creating a queue, we need to select the yes or no for the unique reference. So this is the same thing. If we'll select yes or no, so based on that we have to use the reference here. So here we can put the reference. We can add a string like project name or process date, date time dot now dot sort date, or anything you can put here for the references of the item. This will always be a string. The reference of the added queue item. The references can be used to link your transactions to other application used within an automation project. While adding items to the queue, always use only one robot to avoid duplicacy. Otherwise, each robot will add same items to the queue. So what will happen if you are using the multiple robots for the same process, then and you have added the steps to add the items to the queue, then what will happen, one robot will add the same items to the queue and the another robots will also add the same items to the queue. So it will create a duplicacy. So always use only one robot to avoid the duplicacy. Now let's do it practically. First I am going to tell you how to get the orchestrator activities, like how can we get the add queue item activity. So here you can see in the activities section, go to the available, and here we are getting the orchestrator option. Click here and then go to the queues. So here we have all the queue activities available here. So first one is add queue items. it adds a new item in the queue and the status of the item will be new. So first time when we will add items in the queue, status will be new. Let me tell you how to add items to the queue. So for that, if we want to add the items to the queue from the collection of items, we can directly take an array, or if you want to get the data from the Excel sheet, we have the number of data here, we can add the data from here to the queues. So first I am going to tell you a simple with the array, and then I will tell you how to get the data from the Excel sheet and add to the queue. So for that, we can take one assign activity to assign the queue name, or we can directly take one variable. We can create a variable, and in the default section we can pass the queue name. So let me tell you here, we can take one assign activity, and here we'll take a variable that is queue name, and here we'll put the in the double quotation that is demo queue. We are going to use the demo queue that we have created here, the demo queue. So either you can use the assign activity, or you can go to the variables and you can use the default value queue name. Now we have the queue name, and now we need to add the queue item. So for that we require the items. We'll take another assign activity, and here we'll take a list. So we'll have the list of items here, and here we'll take list of items. So this will be in curly braces, double quotation. Let's suppose I'm going to take here the let's suppose name, then comma, then again double quotation, then Amar. So currently I have taken the 3 name here, and this is the collection of items. So we need to take as a array of a string. So this will be array of string. Press OK. Now we have the list of items here, and this is the simple example. I'm going to take the data from here and add to the queue here. Currently if we'll click on this view transaction, we don't have any items. Now I'm going to show you how to add the items to the queue here. So we'll take one for each loop to loop through each items and add to the queue. Now take for each item in the list, and then here we'll take add queue item, and now we require to put the queue name here. So the queue name is here in the this variable. So we'll take the queue name variable that is queue name, and here from the priorities we can select the normal, and from the item information here we need to take the data from the list. So we'll click here, and we'll take in one arguments that is name, because these are the names, and from here we can use here items, because now we have the data in the item and we need to convert to the string. Now press OK. So what will happen, every time when it will loop through each items, it will come to this, it will add the items to the queue, because we just have to put the queue name. We have added the queue name and we have added the item information. So I have taken the variable name that is name, and the value that is item.toString, because we are getting the value in the item, and now we can run this. So now this has been successfully added. Now click here, refresh this. So currently we are not getting here any values. We can click on the view transaction. Sometimes it takes time to show the items on the queue pages. Now we have the 3 items here, 3 queue items. We can see the details from here, view details. First, John. So this has been added to the queue in FIFO structure. So the first name was Manish, so this is added. We can see the details. This is Manish. and the second number was Amar, so this has been added, and last was John, so this is added based on the FIFO structure. Now I'm going to tell you how to add the items from the Excel sheet. We have the list of data here, so how can we add the items from here? Let's suppose you have the input sheet, you are working on a project and you have the input sheet, you have the lots of items like the loan details, customer informations, anything. You need to read the data from the Excel sheet and add to the queue. So I will show you here. So currently we require the queue name. Whenever you are going to add the items to the queue, we require the queue name. So we'll take this, and now we need to read the Excel file because we have the data in the Excel file, so we have to read the Excel file. So for that we'll take one read range activity. So we can directly take this workbook read range activity. This is not required to take a Excel application scope if we have this read range activity, because we are providing the workbook path here. Click on this and we'll select the Excel file. This is the Excel file challenge, and now we can remove this one because you want to get the all this data available in the Excel sheet. Now we need to store the data in the data table. So Control K, items DT, it means this is the data table of this one. Now we have the data in the data table, and now we need to add the items to the queue. So for that we will take one for each. So this time we are going to take for each row because we are going to work with the data table, and then we have the for each row in the data table. So the data table will be items DT, and then we'll take here one add queue item, and we need to put the variable where we have the queue name. So this is just a variable we have taken here, the queue name, and we have assigned the queue name to this variable. So we are using the variable name, and then from the item information we need to take the data from the data table so that we can add the items to the queue. Whatever will be written to this arguments, this section will be added to the queue. So here we have the data in the row, so we need to take one variable, that is we have to use the first name. So we'll copy this first name, we'll use this first name, and then we have the data in the row. So we'll take the data from the row here, we'll put in the value, that is row open bracket close bracket, in the double quotation we'll put the name which is in the data table. So we have the data table column name is first name, so we can use this first name, and then we'll take one as a toString. So by this way one by one we can add here. Now the next is we can let's suppose I'm going to take the last name here, and we can use here row dot item. So by this way also we can get the data from the data table, and in the double quotation we need to write here in the last name and then dot toString. So this is the another method, that is row dot item last name dot toString, and this is the first one. Now press OK. And now the third one is, as we are using the for each row and we are using the data table, then we can take one get row item to get the data from the data table. So as we can take here the row here, because we are getting the data from the row, so from the data table, then we are taking here row, and in the column name we are going to take the data from the company name. So here in the column name we'll just use in the double quotation company name. So what will happen, now we have the data in this row, and now we are going to export the data to the one value that will be a data row. Press Ctrl K to create one variable, and this will be like argument underscore company name, right? So now we have the value in the argument underscore company name. So and let me take one more get row item and this will be for role. So again we'll type here row, and then in the column name we can type here role, and then in the value, output value, we can control K and argument role, right? So I am telling you the 2-3 methods because let's suppose you are working on a project, someone has written the get row item, someone has written the row dot item, someone has written only row first name. So by this way you can understand all these things working for the same purpose. This is for the getting the data from the data table. So I have taken the two activity, that is get row item, and also I am using the directly I am passing here the value which is in a row, and then once we have the taken get row item, we have the value in the variables arguments, we can create here the company name, and now you know that we have the variable, we have the value in the variable, that is argument company name. So we just have to pass the value as a variable here, and now role. So this will be again argument underscore role, and now I'm going to take one again for the address, that will be this, and here the row open close bracket the address dot to string, right? And we need to take the data from the email column, so we'll write here email row, you can write here row dot item, and then last is phone number, so we'll take phone number row, and now press OK. So now we have defined the item information in the collection. Here we have the details, let me show you here. Okay, so now we have added the values, assigned the values to these arguments. Now run this. So once we'll run this, it will read the data from the Excel sheet, add to the data table, and then read the data from the data table and then add to the queue. Now run this. Let me close this, otherwise you will get an error because Excel file should not be opened. Okay, so we are getting error because the Excel file was opened here. Now run again. Okay, so now the items has been added here. Now click on the view transactions, and now you can see here we have the 13 rows. It means the 3 was already added with the basic example, and now 10 has been added again. You can click here and see the details. Now we have the specified data, we have the arguments here, that is first name, last name. So this is the arguments that we have created here while putting the item information in the properties. So this is the same, this is the name, first name, and we have the details. Now close this. So by this way now you have seen, once we have added the items to the queue, the status will be new, and once it will start the processing the items, it will show as a in progress. So we'll learn later in the next video. So we'll learn queue page overview. You can see here this is the queue page, and from queue page you can add queues, you can view information about queue and queue items such as queue name, descriptions, total number of items in progress, remaining and successful transactions, average execution time, and the exceptions. So here you can see these are the queue names, and these are the descriptions, and how many items are in progress it will show here, and how many items are in remaining, how much time it takes to execute. This is the average time of execution, and how many items successfully processed. And this is the app, it means application exception, and this is the business exceptions. So it will show here, if we have the business exception it will show here, and it will show the count of the application exceptions. From here you can edit and you can write the description. You will not able to edit the demo queue once you have added. We can change the description, or you can remove this and update again, and you can see the transactions from here. So these are the transactions, this has been added here to the queue. So currently we are getting an error, no issue. Again we'll click on the view transactions, and these are the transactions. This is the same, this is the status. New references, if we have added the reference, then we can see here. This is the revision, no. Priority, normal. Deadline, so currently we have not added any deadline. So now let me show you how to add the deadlines. So here from the add queue item, now this is the time to show you the deadline. It means this item should be processed before the given time. So here you can add the date time dot now dot add. So we have the methods here: add days, add hours, add milliseconds, add minutes, add months, seconds, years, add 2 hours. Now let me put the postpone. You can also use the same date time dot add date time dot now dot add hours or add days, or you can directly use the time here like 08/08/2019. so this is the MMDDYY format. Now a space and then the time. So currently here in India the time is 11:42 am, so we can write here 11:42:00. So by this way we can put the exact date time. So here also you can put here the exact date time, or you can use the date time dot now. Now from here reference, as we have selected only no in the while creating a reference, so we can put here this is the RPA project. So this will be the reference. Now let me run again. Okay, so let's see how it looks like. We have added the items to the queue. Now click on this, click on view transactions. Okay, so now you have seen that the status is new, the reference is RPA projects. So this has been added to all the items which we have added, and if you select yes, it means this will be the unique. So you cannot use the RPA project for all the items, so you have to take something different. So you can use the reference as unique. And now here you have seen the deadline. So in the deadline we have taken the date time dot now dot add 2 hours. So you have seen here 1:43, it means currently the time is 11:44, so after 2 hours the time is 1:43. So the deadline, it means this item should be processed before the deadline. And now this has been postponed. You can see here the postponed date 8/8/19 11:42:00. So this has been postponed to the specific time. So in the next video we'll learn how to get items from the queue and process each items. So now you learned how to create a queue, how to add items to the queue. We learned what is the use of auto try, reference, postpone, deadline. Thank you so much friends. Thank you for watching this video. If you have not subscribed this channel, then please subscribe, and please like this video. If you have any question, please comment on video and please share.